The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's forming a phone.
Good evening. This is Lowe's Moore, and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. Man, I'm excited to be back with you guys again for another exciting show. Look, I want to say thank you for your support each and every week, right? You guys pop on here with me, spend time with me on the Blueprint, and I want to say thank you. And for those who are viewing for the first time or have been viewing, right, if you don't mind, go to Lowe's Moore, the Blueprint Podcast on Facebook or YouTube, and like on both, and on YouTube subscribe. And again, I want to say thank you. And I'm looking, hey, this is my pebble, even though it's a miniature basketball. I call it my pebble in the pond. I'm expecting a ripple effect of tonight's show. So I'm about to drop it in the pond because I think it's going to be an awesome show. I want to say thank you to Coach. I had Coach Steve Pogue on a couple of weeks ago. It was an amazing show. He's my son-in-law, son of Pastor Pogue, and they won again today. St. John's women's team won up in Rhode Island today, and they should be on their way back, or they may be back already, but they won today. I want to thank him for sharing the interview. The interview we had was powerful, and it was personal. It was powerful and personal, and I want to thank Coach Jim Couch, the legendary Coach Jim Couch. 93 years. 93 years. He's changed the lives of thousands and thousands and thousands of kids through basketball, right? Both male and female. And I want to thank them for coming on too and joining me on the Blueprint Podcast. Right. And so let me get right into this. Let me start off, each and every week, I try to focus on, I'm combating illiteracy. Right. And so each week I give you a book of the week. And so let me jump right into this. My book of the week. I'm going to show you my book of the week right now. All right. The War in Your Head by Bill Johnson. I mean, this is an awesome read, right? And there are a lot of books out because in this day and time, we're dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of mental health issues, right? And sometimes, man, we don't even know what's going on in our minds. But this is an awesome book. It's an awesome read. And if you can get it on audio, right, get it on audio too while you're in your car. You can listen to it as well. But, a lot of things we got going on in our head, right? And he does a tremendous job in helping us, particularly spiritually. This is a spiritual focus here, right? Because only one way the enemy tries to attack us, he tries to attack our minds. So this is a great read. And here's my word of the week. My word of the week is grateful. We're coming up on a time, and I'm not just saying this because Thanksgiving is around the corner and Christmas is around the corner. I always think that we should be grateful. Being grateful is a powerful word. I was just had a chance to share a message earlier today, at the church at Emmanuel Pentecostal Faith Temple. And, I was sharing with them how truly grateful I am, for my family, for my friends, man, for my community, and how truly grateful and how blessed I am. And so it's always good to be grateful. I am grateful for all that I have and all that God has done for me. And so here's my affirmation, my Hill Harper, Pierce Harper affirmation moment. Gratitude. It says, gratitude is a noun. Be thankful for what you already have while pursuing all that you want. I mean, sometimes you got to wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning, I got to get a scripture. I got to read the scripture, or I got to find one of my favorite quotes or my affirmation, right? So sometimes you got to just learn how to talk to yourself, right? That's why I put my affirmations up here. And it's named the Hill Hopper, you know, the actor Hill Hopper, Pierce Hopper, they was on the show, and his son, man, had already remembered, right, over 40 something affirmations that he pulls them out every single day, and he speaks to himself, right, about I'm powerful, I'm great, I'm handsome, I'm amazing, right? And every day you got to speak to yourself. And so that's my affirmation for the week. And here's my movie and music. Kirk Franklin, I was having a flashback. You know, the New Nation project. I was having a flashback, man, about Kirk Franklin and some of the things that he had produced in the past. I don't know about the present, but in the past, man, I kind of like some of the things that he had, and the one on the album was Smile, right? I like that a lot, and so I got the album and I started listening to it. So, and here's the movie of the week. The movie of the week is Sight. I mean, I haven't seen it. I went to see it in the movies, and I haven't seen it come out on demand. It's a true story. It's an amazing story. About a young man that eventually becomes a doctor. I think one of his friends' father was blind. He was always intrigued about sight, and he ended up becoming a doctor. And he started to help underprivileged people who couldn't afford to have operations on their eyes, right? And he started to fix people's eyes. I mean, it's just a great movie, and it's my movie of the week. And then here's my person of the week. Sinbad. I know you guys remember Sinbad. I love Sinbad because, there's a lot of comedians out there. They use a lot of negative words, but Sinbad was one of those guys, man, that was positive and he was funny at the same time. And I know he had a stroke, and he's doing a little bit better now. But I wanted to shout out Sinbad, and I think it was his birthday, so I want to say happy birthday to him as well. And let's see what else we got. Happy birthday to Shaheem. Yeah, that's my brother's grandson. And Shaheem, man, he's grown up so fast. And I want to say happy birthday to you. And then Kalila, all the way in California. I want to say happy birthday to Kalila, right? We miss you. You all the way in California doing your thing, working. And we truly miss you out here in Mount Vernon. But hey, go make your career successful, right? But I want to say happy birthday from your uncle. And then I want to say happy heavenly birthday to my niece who passed away at 26, right? Vaughn Shalik, I want to say happy birthday to you. Happy heavenly birthday to you. Hey, man, we truly, truly miss you. And we truly loved you. And it's just awesome, man. And we've seen how amazing her son and daughter is, man. I can't believe it, man. One's in college, right? From that time to now, one's in college and one's just graduated from high school. So I mean, hey, awesome, right? Let's see what else we got here, and let's not forget, Losey's on the road, right? And he just left Scranton, Ohio, and he's heading to Bloomington, Indiana, right? And he's in the show Ain't Too Proud to Beg. He's playing Eddie Kendricks, right? And I talked to him a little earlier. They had a 1:00 show, and I think tonight or tomorrow they're gonna hit the road. And they doing like I was in the CBA. They doing a whole bunch of they flying and they on buses. But if it's in your area, make sure you get a chance to see Ain't Too Proud to Beg, the life and time and story of the Temptations. And my son is playing Eddie Kendricks in that. So, all right. I think we're ready right now. I want to show this highlight. Right. I want to show this highlight here. And then I want to show two. I got to show two of them. And then I'll introduce my guest for this evening. We're going to have a great time.
State of New Jersey.
All right.
And this is just another way that we can get food into our urban community.
Right.
So all of you who want to be, what's the sexy phrase now? Urban gardeners.
Yeah.
Urban farmers. Well, this is just another way and means of making it happen. These are earth boxes. This is 500 earth boxes. You can just pan around and just see, we do raised beds. We can go straight into the ground sometimes, but of course you got to test the soil. But this is just another ways and means of making things happen. Here in Jersey City, this is just one lot of several that we have working with Friends of the Lifeless, with Mr. Annette Joyner and Brother Harvey Joyce. Like I said, organization is Friends of the Lifeless, and this is just one project of many that is already in production, not getting ready to happen. We're doing this in several lots in the city of Jersey City, here in the state of New Jersey. So that's basically it. And once again, this is Brother Barry, Black Farmers Agriculture Association, Tillery, North Carolina, headed up by Gary Grant. And this is what we do. We grow food, anyway, anywhere. Rooftop, on the ground.
In the ground?
In the ground, in the hood. However you want to get down, we can do it.
Deep.
I just wanted to show these plants right here. These are okra. This is okra. This whole section here is okra. And what's happening here, what has happened here, if you can notice the yellow and brown leaves that the brother's touching right there, these okra were actually dying. But with some tender loving care and proper cultivation, they started to come back. Okay? And if you can get a close-up on this, you can see how these leaves are darker. And if we can go over to the other section over here, to these larger plants, the same thing happened, as you can see. You have the yellow and brown where they were dying out, but the brothers, in their horticultural skills, the agricultural skills, were able to assist these plants in coming back to life, so to speak. And if you look at these right here, I guess these approximately maybe almost a little more than 2 feet, maybe even close to 3 feet tall. And I swear, if I may, so you can actually see how okra looks in the beginning. Take over another one right here. Brother's trying to show me one down here. Oh, okay, yep. Let me get in here. All right, there it is right there. All right. So, yeah, we're going to have a feast shortly. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. And I'm going to pan real quick. 500 earth boxes. And once again, this is just one project that we're doing. We have several more lots like this that's going to be doing their thing sooner than later. All right.
Awesome. I want to welcome to the Blueprint Barry Crumley, better known as Brother Barry.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. Man, I'm excited to have you. And, man, I what I remember about food, right? And, most of the time, most of my life I remember about food is getting it from the store, right? But what I do remember historically as a little kid, my mom used to drop all four of us out in Plymouth, North Carolina. And my grandfather had a garden. I mean, he had corn, collard greens, and he used to go out. I used to go out there with him, and he didn't have a. You know how you have a lawnmower, right? He had the old lawnmower. He had the one you had to push with the wooden stick, right? So, but he used to go out there. He used to take me out there. What I remember, he used to take me out there and show me, like, this is what this is, and this is how you do it, and so forth and so on. Of course, I lived in the city, right, and I lived in the projects, so was no garden. So, but that's what I remember in regards to regarding food and growing food, and it wasn't until we got together in the Peacekeepers, right, and being in the Peacekeepers, I got to know you. I mean, I think I got a couple of pictures of us in the Peacekeepers. If we can throw those up there real quick. Yeah, there go Brother Barry there in the Peacekeepers. Yeah. And we remember going out there, being present in our community, and just giving back to the community and trying to help the community, and during a very, very rough time, man, where I think we lost 21 young black males to gun violence, and I think was 250 men. And then over a 9-year period, we were present for peace. And I remember enjoying walking with those gentlemen, but I enjoyed walking with you, right? Because in part of the self-defense, people were doing self-defense, but it was awareness, right? You were always making us aware, right? You were making us aware of all the things that was going on. You'd be like, yo, do you know if when a gas line is busted, do you know it? Can you smell the gas? Or, do you know what those numbers on the truck mean? That's driving down the street, the red ones, the yellow ones, the blue ones, and green ones. And we are like, nah, man, we were just not knowledgeable, right? And you were so knowledgeable, right? From self-defense to first aid, CPR, to all those things, man. And I want to say thank you, man, for keeping us safe out there.
Yes, sir.
Right? Keeping us safe and protected out there. So yeah, let's get going, man. Let's before we get going, I always have 3 short questions in terms of that focuses on the blueprint, right? Is the importance of family, right? And we were talking a little earlier about your mom and children, but the importance of family. Talk about a little bit about importance of family, importance of faith, and the importance of education, right? And talk about that from the perspective of how you grew up. Where did you grow up? Mom and dad, siblings. Talk a little bit about that, so the audience will get to know Brother Barry a little bit.
It sounds like you and I had the same kind of beginning. I'm Harlem, born and raised in Harlem. I'm a '60s baby.
Oh, okay.
Born in Harlem. But I was the kid that always got sent down south, Southwest Georgia, where my father is from.
Okay.
And so that side of the family was all about civil rights, voter registration, farms. I remember the farms, the pigsties, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's how I came about to love being outdoors and on the land. Additional to that, which we'll touch on it, and then we'll probably come back to it at some point. There's a relative that had a funeral home down there in Southwest Georgia, and for some reason, I would always want to go see the dead bodies.
Oh man!
And so they would take me to the funeral home. Fast forward, that's what I retired from doing. Being in the mortuary business, working at the office of chief medical examiner here in New York, working at one of the largest hospital medical centers in the pathology department here in New York. Did that for 12 years. The other part you were saying about, I'm kind of like put it all together, in terms of the family and faith. You know how, we pour libations and we need to acknowledge our ancestors and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've come to realize that it was easier for me to identify with people that were heroes in their own right, that I actually knew. Right? My father being one of them.
Okay.
My father was a Mumford Point Marine, brother. Matter of fact, make it really clear. My father was an original Mumford Point Marine.
You might have to explain what that is.
I'm not going to explain it.
Okay.
Viewers can Google that. Google's your friend.
Okay.
Mumford Point Marine, right?
Okay.
Not my grandfather, not my great uncle. My father was a Mumford Point Marine, and we just buried him at the age of 92, 93 back in 2015. Right? So he was an old soldier. And then my mother, we just buried her last year. She was 102, and she was from Jacksonville, North Carolina. So if anybody knows how the military is, and you can see that connection. My father was a Marine at Camp Lejeune, and my mother was born there. So that's how they met. And that's, how I got here, so to speak. But those experiences of growing up in Harlem, like I said, I'm a 60s baby, brother. I'm closer to 65 than I am to 60 right now.
Okay.
And, we made it through that, and I'm saying we because I'm speaking to all of the men and women that I grew up with that are still here. Right? It's a real thin sliver of us in terms of that big pie, because I guess it wasn't any different from St. Louis, South Central LA, Mount Vernon, whatever. But I'm just saying, I'm grateful. I'm gonna use your word.
Yeah.
So it's all good. And right now, at this stage and at this age, and probably for the last, I can even say 30 years, it's been about food, growing food, farming, agriculture. And in that time span, up until today, I'm able to sit with and learn from some of the best agriculturalists probably in the world, surely in this country, and so that's what it's all about for me. Community, when you talk about family, you said that's one of the things you want to talk about. So, that becomes like community, and I'll touch on that because I have my little bullet points right here that I want to stay on task. So as soon as we're ready to get into it, let me know, because we only got an hour.
Yeah, definitely. And because I just think that people knowing, I mean, when say you graduate from high school and you're thinking, or you're growing up, were you thinking about the things you're now in, or the things that you've been in? I know the growing up part, you said the mortuary, right? And then what was the transition? I mean, how did you transition from doing the other things?
Well, in terms of the mortuary stuff, it was just like so many of my friends. My friends was getting killed. We were getting killed at 10, 11, and 12, like pre-teen, right? That's how it was on my block.
Right.
And I just transitioned, wanting to, it was enough fear in me not to, what's the term they're using now? What is it called? Unlived? What is it? Some new thing. Instead of saying the word dead, I guess because it ain't politically correct or whatever, unalived.
Unalive?
Yeah.
That's the new word?
Yo, they come up with all this stupidness. Yeah, these fucking kids. Anyway, so yeah, I just had enough exposure to be like, nah, you know, I don't want to end up on the slab. And when I started working, it was really a reality because there were more than a couple of occasions where I would be hanging out, be like, oh man, let me go home and get some sleep. I got to go to work in a little while. And those very same guys, I would go to work at the medical examiner's office, pull a tray, and dude is right there. Somebody I was with just 4 or 5 hours ago.
Wow.
You know? So, and like I said, that happened more than a couple of times. And so I just became like really good at it. Left the medical examiner's office and started doing a different type of because it was mainly forensics. And I just went up to one of the larger medical centers, and it was more research. So I became very well rounded in that field. And then I had an opportunity. One of the larger Black-owned funeral homes in Harlem kind of like took me under their wing, so to speak, and became family in more ways than one. Matter of fact, the owner now, my children, you know, they all went to school together, and I'm talking about elementary school.
Wow.
You know, like that. So that's where we at.
Yeah.
But I really want to get into this agricultural thing, brother.
So yeah, let's transition. So you go from there and you get into. Do you get into food immediately?
I got involved with the Black Farmers and Agriculturists Association, known as BFA. Now the acronym was BFAA, Black Farmers and Agriculturists Association. Right. Yep, that's their logo. And that was under the guidance of Gary Grant down in Tillery, North Carolina.
Right.
And then I wound up meeting people like Ridgely McMean, you know, the John Boyds. You know, I just started meeting everybody. Eddie Wise is a lot of these names. You probably don't even know who Eddie Wise is. So all of these great farmers, and I wound up being around them. And to this day, I even spoke with Dr. Ridgely today. You know, I'm happy, man. I'm good. And I'm good at what I do. And I know this food game enough to be able to share information to those who want to listen and understand. Right. There was a time where I thought it was became a waste of my time, especially where, you know, I was doing like the whole preparedness thing too, you know, right. Being a government liaison for the Red Cross. And then when you look around, it's like, these people not even listening, man. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about like on a broad scale. I ain't talking about just this particular group, you know. But I stuck in there. I hung in there. You know, kept getting pushed by family and friends, like, yo, keep doing your thing, man. And so it's beneficial, you know, right. Educationally, financially, you know, the whole bit.
Right. So talk about, because you mentioned we talked about the farmers aspect of it. You know, you said that you know, I'm a farmer, right? I'm a food grower, right? I'm a seed saver.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And a land steward. So take us through what those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-explanatory, and that's one thing people need to understand when they're looking for an answer. A lot of people are looking for a very complicated answer, right? And when it comes to this life cycle, it's not. You know, stick to the basics, and things will work out. You know, like, you know, what do I do about, you know, the food situation? Grow your own food, right? If you can't do that, then you meet a farmer and get to know a farmer. I can't think of any place, you know, in this country that you don't have access to farmers. So you just got to do the work. Man, you pulling up old, man. Look at these images, man. Oh my. Yo, man, I like that. I gotta find them myself, man.
Well, I'm gonna send them to you.
Yeah, man, those are that was some of them people, them places I was at with them images you just showed. Those are good friends of mine, man.
Yeah. So talk about the food game, man, because like,
Big time seed growers, man.
yeah, okay. Well, explain what seed growers are.
That they literally grow plants for seed production, right? You got a growing phase where you're growing food and you're eating it, right? But then
Right.
you let it grow a little further, and it you get the seeds from it. You save the seeds so you can plant again.
Right.
Which I'm going to go straight into this right now. That was a good segue,
Yes, sir.
right? So on March the 3rd, 1998, Delta and Pineland Company, it was a Missouri-based firm, right? They are the world's largest cottonseed supplier, along with the United States Department of Annihilation. I mean, the United States Department of Agriculture. They were granted a patent number, right? So the listening audience, they can take this patent number down, 5723765, right? So they were granted, now mind you, that was the USDA and this particular company, Delta and Pineland, they became partners. They got a grant. I mean, they were granted that patent for the control of plant gene expression, now commonly known as terminator gene technology, right? And that morphed into what you more commonly hear now as a GMO, genetically modified, right? So through this innovation, seeds are genetically engineered to render themselves toxic and thereby sterile, so that the farmers cannot harvest their own seeds and will be forced to return to the companies which own the patents on the crops for each year's supply. This is a particular threat to indigenous farmers who have a long history of saving and sharing seeds, and the extent of harm posed by this technology to the planet's ecosystem is still unknown, right? And once again, it's called terminated gene technology. And my big brother that I mentioned a few moments ago put this information out for us back in 1998. Terminator genes. You better find out just what we mean. You're eating good now, but you're going to eat lean, because they're changing the nature of everything green. They're changing the nature of the living seed. You grow it one time and it won't repeat. The farmers are going to have to pay so much for seed that they're going to quit and you won't eat. There's a war going on that you might want to know. You better find out from Monsanto. Germ warfare in the land and in the air. They're the ones, germ warfare in the land and in the air. They're killing the seed so the seed won't bear. Excuse me while I sound the alarm, but the USDA plans to do you harm. They're the ones that designed these genetic bombs, and they're the ones that took the black man's farms. You got no farms and you got no land because you would not listen to this little black man. They gave you food stamps and took away the land. Now you eat all your food from the white man's hands. They gave you welfare so you would not care. You got your pretty nose stuck up in the air. You got them long nails and that store-bought hair, but you're going to chew them nails when the cupboards are bare. There used to be these germinating seeds, but the terminated genes going to end that breed. I know one day you want to be a star, but them terminated genes ain't going to let you get that far. They changed the DNA so it cannot read, kill the people in the middle of the process of greed. There's only going to be two kinds of food, one for the rich and the rest for fools. So while if they will kill black folks, they'll kill whites too. But they'll kill 3 of them just to get 1 of you. You see, black folks, we're still in that baby boom. But they got some poison to end that soon. They're messing with the genes and the chromosomes. They're going to put us black folks in the twilight zone. Now, if Europe don't want no Terminator food, that should be a little hint to at least a thinking fool. But I bet you went to one of them high-tech schools. So now you're searching the net for your next bowl of soup. Herbicides, pesticides, suicide, genocide. You better use your money to stay alive. Stop spending your money on this high-tech jive. You better get some more land if you plan to survive. You better get your priorities back in line. You keep playing the fool, you're going to lose your behind. You act real stupid and you act real blind while the devil is perpetrating the perfect crime. I know you want to live that American dream, but that's not in the white man's scheme. It might sound cold and it might sound mean, but them terminated genes going to end that dream. Now, I know you like your McDonald's and your Burger King, but you ain't going to like these terminated genes. They're changing the meat. They're changing the greens. Fast food line straight to the murder scene. My big brother, Dr. Ridgely, wrote that in 1999. And it's relevant to today. And I'm going to bring it all together for you. And we need to understand that our fears do not match the facts, in that we're more afraid of the lesser risk and not concerned enough about the greater ones. In other words, just to digress a quick moment on that thought, and I'm going to come back because I'm going to keep using that, and I'm going to repeat it first. Our fears do not match the facts, in that we're more afraid of the lesser risk and not concerned enough about the greater ones. Why spend your time, energy, and thought processes on, I don't know, global warming, right? When you don't even have a fire extinguisher in your house. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, talking about food, right? You know, I have this little thing because I'm actually reading from my notes so we can stay on task. So, like, I got this thing called this topic, this group of information about food, right? And I broke it down to 5 groups. Now, mind you, I want to go back and say something, because I did acknowledge it, but I don't know if people heard me. It's very likely that on this podcast, you are not going to learn anything from me, but I hope to actually remind you of something that you already knew, and to spark the interest for you to restart and revisit what you already know, right? We know we got to eat right, but if I can just put things in perspective and let you know some real basic stuff, you'd be like, oh yeah, damn, I remember that. That's right. Yeah, I remember Big Mama said that.
Mm-hmm.
So like these 5 groups, right? You have live foods, which is fresh produce, right? You have sleeping foods, which are the seeds. right? So if you want to start saving seeds, right, you got to understand you can't just get a pack of seeds and throw it in the kitchen utility drawer, right? You got to store them properly so they'll germinate next year, right? Then you have the dying foods, right? That's old foods that's like spoiling, your bananas and stuff like that. Then you have the dead foods, right? Which most of, I was going to say us, but I don't even fit in that category. Dead foods are those foods that are pasteurized, irrigated, and enriched, right? And then of course we have the deadly foods, which most of people eat, which is the junk food, the cereals, the sugary and carbonated drinks, candy, anything that's in a package that you get out of the store, especially liquids, right? The milks and the juices and stuff like that. Um, the so-called almond milks and soy milks. If it's coming out of a supermarket, it's been pasteurized, right? And so we're not going to go delve into that. I'm just giving some actual facts right now, and people can go do their own homework, or we can come back based on the chats and stuff like that, and we do another show. Then you have these four categories of food, right? You have, and I bring this up like when we're talking about preparedness, right? Because that's like another thing that I'm good at and share information with a lot of people. So when we talk about these categories of foods, we have the expedient foods, right? So when we talk about putting foods away and putting stuff back ready, storing up your root cellars for all intents and purposes, right? Your expedient foods are your canned goods, your tuna fishes, your soups, your crackers, things like that you don't need, that you can just bust the can open and it's good,
Mm-hmm.
Then you have your convenient foods, right? The ones that you just add water to. That's the freeze dried and the hydrated, dehydrated stuff, where you got to add the water and all like that, right? Then you have your long-term foods, the ones that got to be cooked, right? The cereals. And I'm not talking about the cereals that I was talking about a few seconds ago. I'm talking about the grains, the rolled oats, your beans, your legumes, stuff that you have to actually cook, right? And then once again, because it all comes full circle. And so when we start talking about the future foods, right? Those are the ones that are freshly grown. When you start talking about your seeds, right? Your fresh produce and your farm animals. So in other words, don't eat crap, right? That's a little acronym I came up with. Don't eat crap, right? So the C is for carbonated drinks and caffeine, right? The R is for refined sugars. And by the way, when we start talking about all of these debilitating diseases, the diabetes, the cancers, right? And everything else that goes along with it, the high blood pressures, it's sugar. Okay? It's the refined sugars that is in everything. So that's why you have to be mindful of your diet, right? So the A in crap, artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, and alcoholic beverages. You can't take any of that to the extreme because it's going to eventually kill you. And then, of course, the P in crap is basically processed and pasteurized foods, right? So want to say, well, and it's like a real ignorant question. So if we can't eat all of that, then what can we eat? I don't know. You figure it out, right? Because we just gave you the blueprint. Oh man, the blueprint. Oh wow, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
You got the blueprint right here, right? And it's simple. It's not. Don't look for the complicated answer. Grow your own food. Get a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket. Get some seeds. Get some good soil in your little apartment. Put it in there and watch the magic. Once that first tomato come, you're gonna find somebody. You're gonna start calling them relatives down in Georgia. Be like, yo, the big mama still. What's going on with that property? You're gonna start inquiring, right? Because It's just a matter of knowing, brother. It's just a matter of knowing, and once you eat right, your body won't accept anything that's wrong. You know, uh, this thing here. I got this from well, I didn't get this from, but you know how the brothers or whomever, they'll say, they start talking about knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? So I took that a few years ago, and because well, forget that conversation, but I took knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? And this is what I did with it. Knowledge is learning and knowing how to grow tomatoes, squash, pumpkins, and eggplants, right?
Mm.
And so that's what I try to do. You know, show people, and people come to me all the time. They come here to the homestead, and this is what we do, right? The wisdom is knowing that tomatoes, squash, pumpkins, and eggplants are actually fruits, right? The understanding is that you normally don't put tomatoes, squash, pumpkins, and eggplant in your fruit salad.
You don't.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these are the things that come to me, whether I wake up in the middle of the night or I'm having a conversation with somebody that's way knowledgeable than I am about this, and I just have these moments. I'm like, oh man, yeah, we can implement that. Yo, I'm gonna incorporate that into my presentation next time I get an opportunity to speak to somebody that want to listen. So yeah, and once again, I'm constantly hearing about people want to know about the lawsuits and the black farmers. They're headliners. They just read the headlines and they just go with it, right? So like the most recent thing was what was it, $2 billion that was awarded to the black farmers, right?
Yes.
So is that something that you heard?
Yes. That was $2 billion.
Okay. Right. So I'm just looking at this real quick. So yeah, that was just a few months ago. That was back in July when that supposedly had happened.
Right.
Right. So I kept, getting these inquiries, phone calls or whatever. Brother Barry, the $2 billion that was awarded to the black farmers, and then whatever the question might be, but that will be in their brain. The fact of the matter is, the $2 billion was awarded to producers, right? And there was 40. I mean, let me see my notes here. There was 43,244, approximately 43,244 producers that got that money, that $2 billion split up. And when you average that out, each one of those producers, whether it was an entity or an individual, that was only like $48,000. Right? Like, what can a farmer do with $48,000? Right? What's the average cost of a new used pickup truck? Right? You surely can't buy any big heavy equipment with $48,000. And depending on how big the operation is, that might be the water bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That might be the water bill. So, and then on top of that, it was broken up into categories. It wasn't black farmers, right? The categories were race, color, national origin, sexual orientation, age, gender, marital status, religion, and there was a couple other ones that I can't even remember. I just made these notes earlier. Right? So it's like, is hyped.
Yeah, it's not.
And until you really study this stuff and be able to sit with people that really know how to do this and study this, you won't get the actual facts, brother. You won't get the actual facts.
So in your estimation, because we were talking about this during the course of the last couple of weeks, right? Talk about how does one in regards to, you say, find a farmer,
Right.
right? How does one go about finding a farmer? I mean, if you're going to get your produce, right? Not from the supermarket, but you want to get it fresh.
Gotta go to a farmer's market. You can start there and introduce yourself and start doing business with these people. Go to a farmer's market.
Are there any farmers markets around here?
They're all over. When you say around here, I don't know who your listening audience is, but I got people that contacted me in South Africa that's looking at this right now, and in Rome and in France.
Right.
So just for clarity, is those of us who are in the United States and particularly in New York. New York is an agricultural state, right? And it's so much an agricultural state that many farmers use the numbers of people in New York City as their clientele. So we got farmers coming from upstate New York, going all the way down to Union Square, one of the largest farmers markets around. And then in terms of other parts of the state, Westchester County or what have you, farmers markets are all over. And many of those farmers supplying food to multiple farmers markets. So you can start there, right? Go online and just Google it, find a farmer's market. And if you want to use the excuse about it costs too much, then dare I say, die, because you're not going to get the good food out of the stores, right? It's just not going to happen. I don't care how much you want to talk about Trader Joe and Mrs. Green and Whole Food, right? Because when you start doing your research and find out who owns most of the products and where those products are coming from, and when you start learning that the big money people and big money corporations use their pocketbooks for the lobbyists in Washington, D.C., where the definition of organic can change overnight. You see what I'm saying? So you can't get caught up with the food packaging. When you see natural, when you see organic, and you know what I mean? It's like it's not what it used to be, right?
Wow.
And that's just the way it is.
Right.
And since we're talking about food, the Farm Bill, the 2004 Farm Bill, guess how big that budget is?
How big is it?
1.46 trillion with a T dollars, right? That ain't the catch, brother, right? Because that's a reasonable number. Yeah, the Farm Bill, give them $3 trillion, right? But the 1.46 trillion dollars, 75%. I'm gonna actually read this. According to recent information, over 75% of the 2004 Farm Bill is projected to be used for the SNAP benefits program, right? Food stamps, right? And some estimates placing it at closer to 80% of the bill's total spending being dedicated to the nutrition programs like SNAP. Okay, so what, Brother Barry? So here's the caveat. I learned that word like 2 years ago. Caveat. Right? The caveat to that is when you start talking about farmland ownership, United States farmland ownership, right? Oh, that's the 8 o'clock call. Hold on. I'll get to it in a minute. Just remind me. Don't let me forget. I didn't put it on snooze. I gotta make a call now, but I want to get through this point. So hold on to that thought about the farm bill. 80% of $1.46 trillion going to SNAP, right? So now, would you happen to know? Matter of fact, let me try to find it here. Okay, countries that here we go. Right? I'm going somewhere with this, and I'm gonna move through it quickly.
Okay, all right.
So now the countries that own U.S. farmland, the top 10 countries that own United States farmland. I'm gonna start at number 10 and go up. Ireland, 760,000 acres. Luxembourg, 802. These are thousands of acres. Denmark, 856. France, 1,316,000. Portugal, 1,483,000. Germany, 2,269,000. The UK, United Kingdom, 2,538,000 acres. Italy, 2,700,000 acres. The Netherlands, 4,875,000 acres. And Canada, which is number one, the number one owner of farmland country, the United States farmland country is Canada, which is 12,845,000 acres. Okay? That's just the top 10. So now, another headliner that I got sick of, people running up on me in like a panic. Well, Bill Gates, he's the largest individual landowner, farm landowner in the United States. And I'm like, okay, and what's your point, right? The fact of the matter is, I think he only owns oh man, what was it? He only owns like, on the record, like 270,000 acres, right? And a lot of that is up in Nebraska, and then in 26 other states. But like I think he owns like 9,000 of that 269,000 acres. 9,000 of that is somewhere in Nebraska, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I know that any businessman that got any kind of sense don't have nothing in their names. All right. So he may very well be the president or CEO or whatever of X amount of companies that owns that property, right? Owns that land. But when you start thinking and start trying to connect the dots, so you have a Bill Gates and what's the dude that owned Whole Foods, John Mackey, right? When they start coming together, which they've done, right? And then once again, the other dot is the lobbyists up in Washington, right? And then you have all these other entities and companies that are buying up land. Because remember, Bill Gates is just that one person, right? And he got friends and they got friends and relatives, and so the money spread out, and they got way more than probably 269,000 acres. But when you find out, one of the other dots is that when they start talking about fake food, that's a real thing. Fake food is a real thing, and they started giving it to us probably more than 20 years ago with I can't believe it's not butter. The I guess the most recent, probably within the last 10 years, was the Impossible Burger. All you see what I'm saying, right? So they slow grind you, right? Just like with the water, just like with the vaccines, and all of this stuff, right? Because they can take us out overnight. Shit, all they got to do is just go to one of these damn wherever they make the duck sauce for the Chinese restaurant and put something in that shit, and we all gone. You see what I'm saying? But they don't want to do it that way because it's not beneficial.
Right.
They got to keep us sick. So this way everybody can get paid, right?
So I
when
guess
you start talking about the fake food, right, and the people that's controlling that, right, and then you look at what the Feds is doing in terms of the SNAP program, you go right back to Dr. Ridgely's poem that he wrote in 1998, 1999. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done. So if there's like no real food, right, and you decide that you're not going to grow your own food, then we're going to give you the welfare, and the only food that you can buy with those food stamps is the stuff that we creating in these labs. And that's real talk.
Yeah.
Actual facts.
So talk to us about growing food. How, what we can do moving forward that we need to do. I mean, because you mentioned like, hey, grow the food, right? So talk to us about how we do that. I mean, going forward. You mentioned about finding farmers markets.
Yes. Start there and introduce yourself to the farmers.
Right. But talk about, like you mentioned earlier, which was a good point. Hey, get a bucket in your apartment. Boom. Right. But
backyard,
talk about we'll talk about how we do that. How do we start to do those things in terms of growing gardens? I mean, and growing food. What's the plan? What would be a plan if you had a plan for us? What would we do?
This podcast ends at 8:30 Eastern time, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we got like 20 minutes. So they can start figuring out that their local Home Depot closes around 10 o'clock tonight, more or less. Maybe a little earlier since it's Sunday. I don't know. But literally, I'm not being facetious. This is like real talk, right? So once again, it ain't no complicated answer. Get a bucket, go get some decent soil, get some seeds. Done. Start there. The other part, and today's the 17th, so we might have one more weekend, at least in this region, in the New York area, where you have the farmers market. They do have year-round farmers markets, but go to a farmers market this Saturday, or next Saturday, and get your stuff for Thanksgiving or whatever you celebrating.
Right.
Introduce your stuff. Take their business card. Take a picture of their QR code. Call them next year. After the holidays, give them a call. Do y'all have farm tours? Can I come visit your farm? Get with me. Through you. We can set it up. There's people that have their backyards that want to get their gardens going and get things growing. We can go do that. And then you tied into the churches and all like that. So however it got to get done, but it has to get done. And I want to address something. I kind of like touched on it, but I told the sister specifically because she texted me earlier, and her question was to the point of she was concerned about the new administration, the new presidential administration that's coming in and talking about the mass deportation of illegal migrants or immigrants or whatever they're titled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was asking, well, because of that, how will that affect the farm workers, you know, here in the United States? Because many of them are seasonal workers, migrant workers. And see, this is where people start putting on their blinders, right? Because they only want to see what they want to see and understand to whatever limit they can understand something without having all of the information. So the fact of the matter is, once again, this mass deportation is for the illegals, right? Because maybe she hasn't been in one of those cities where the gangs are literally rolling up and pulling up, as they say, right? And then in terms of the seasonal migrant workers, most of them are documented, because I know farmers personally that there was some business I wanted to do with some farmers, right? And because I was putting in such a large request to actually grow a certain product, right, over the summer, it wasn't feasible for him to do it because he has to give those seasonal migrant workers lodging. It becomes like a tax thing with them, the insurance, the list goes on and on and on. And so once again, it goes back to what I had started, this commentary, if you will, about if we focus on the lesser risk, right, as opposed to how does it say, our fears do not match the facts, in that we are more afraid of the lesser risk and not concerned enough about the greater ones, right? So my understanding is, because of who she is and the organization that she represents, and maybe it's just like a personal thing, she threw that political piece in there about the migrant workers and trying to, like, I guess, put it on the White House and what President Trump may or may not do, as opposed to understanding that it doesn't matter, right? So let's say, for instance, those people wind up falling into that category. So now that's even more reason for us, literally, U.S., United States, whether you black, white, or whatever, you need to get on the bandwagon of agriculture. So it won't matter. You know, fix your roof when the sun is shining.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So, you know, and what did I say earlier? You know, you can't be like putting all your energy into global warming, because the earth is going to get a degree warmer in the next 5 years, and you don't even have fire extinguishers in your house. It's just straight talk for straight understanding.
Yeah.
So let's make it happen. I'm sure you're going to get somebody in your chat, or, you know, however this podcast thing works. People are going to reach out to you, and the answer is yes. Yeah, we can do all of what they want to do, right? But I want to read this too, and I'm gonna read it so I don't get it. Nobody will be confused. Right? Here we go. And it goes and it speaks to what the Blueprint podcast is all about. Because I heard how you opened up. It's about community, right? And if you break that word down and look at it in a different kind of way, it's actually common unity. I'll put my glasses on for this one. Community. You must acknowledge that you cannot do this thing on your own. Become part of a community working together for the common well-being of everyone. Become a self-reliant household that is interdependent within this self-reliant community. The ability to make it through difficult and troubling times over the long haul is totally dependent upon the quality of the community that which you are a contributing part. Community, common unity, is a unified body of individuals bound together through agreed upon common attributes, character, interests, needs, fellowship, participation, work ethics, and commitment to the positive benefit for all. This community may be spread over a large geographic area, but in the very instance of a significant emergency, and in that very moment when a particular hardship outweighs and overcomes your resources and your ability to stop and resolve and recover from it, the final qualifier of an operational community will be limited to those within a practical, functioning, working proximity of each other. How far can you walk? Right? Get to know your neighbor. If you got fucked up neighbors, move. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can't be around this negativity. You must. We got to have community. We talk about it. We preach about it. We march about it. Right? And it's a real thing. It's a real thing. You can't have a garden. You can't even have a regular garden in your backyard if you don't take care of it every day. And if you need to go on vacation for 2 weeks, somebody needs to take care of that garden while you're gone. That's just the garden, brother. Forget about the black farmer, the whoever farmer. We can't do it. We can't do it alone, bro.
Yes, sir. I hear you. And before we get off here, I want to because a couple of other things that you had mentioned when we were talking about, like, hey man, what's some of the things we want to talk about? We're not going to get into it at depth, but you were talking about possibly another show around that, because one of the things that I mentioned earlier in the show, right, when we were doing the Peacekeepers, right, and you were always making us aware of things as we were walking along, right, and you would say, hey brothers, how do you know when a gas line is broke? I mean, is there a gas leak? You just say all those different things. So talk a little bit, just briefly, right, because you mentioned a couple other things on here besides farmer, food grower, seed saver, land steward, but you talked about disaster consultant and emergency manager.
Well, that comes from the 30 years of being involved. It started with the Red Cross, because I was emergency services officer in the Civil Air Patrol for the New York City group. And so, Civil Air Patrol is the auxiliary of the United States Air Force, right? And so we do all of the inland search and rescue, and Coast Guard takes care of everything that's offshore. So when I was involved with them, I guess that was like the early 90s, like 91, 92 or something like that. I went to them, Red Cross, and told them what my position was with Civil Air Patrol. and that's how I became involved, because we had the requisite for either air crew or ground team. You needed to have CPR, first aid, all of the basic stuff like that. So I just matriculated through Red Cross system to the point where I became a government liaison. And so I seen it all, like the disasters. I seen it all, man. And that's one thing I think might be the problem with us. We haven't gotten hungry, right? There's like, and I'm talking about on a mass scale, right? To the point where they call it the food chain, right? The supply chain. It really hasn't stopped, even with the most recent threat of the longshoremen. That only lasted for 3 days, right? The biggest thing that interrupted that cycle was when supposedly was an accident down in the Panama Canal a couple of years ago, right? But it takes time for that stuff to trickle into your kitchen, right? Even though it's most of the supermarkets work on a what they call it, a just-in-time kind of a system. There's just enough inventory in most supermarkets, to last a week with normal shopping. Once a crisis comes, they'll empty out a supermarket overnight, or within a few hours with panic buying, right? So the preparedness thing and the situational awareness, if you want to call it that, that comes from just being totally understanding of what disaster really looks like and what it smells like. Most of us haven't been in an earthquake. Most of us haven't been in a landslide. Most of us haven't, the closest thing we came was Superstorm Sandy, right?
Right.
And it was not even a hurricane. That's why they called it Superstorm Sandy, right? But it was very devastating.
Yes, it was.
Right? 9/11. They did that, knocked that shit down, and New York was back on the beat. And how quick was that? Right? Swept that up, put up another building, business as usual. Right?
Yeah.
So, if you wasn't in the dome at Katrina, you can't say nothing. Right? I mean, it's like if you don't know, you just don't know. And it's no fault of yours, right? But it becomes a problem if you want to start speaking on stuff that you have no clue about. Just because you got letters in front or in back of your name, right? But if you can't smell it and see it and be like, damn, and it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again on some level, somehow, and if you're there and prepared, you'll deal with it on whatever level, right? But if it's a community, the community is going to deal with it on that level. But if you by yourself, you're going to be asked out somewhere. Oh well, if you the type that don't have the mindset or the lifestyle, if you will, or the culture of not letting your gas tank in your vehicle go below half, then when you wake up the next morning and the gas station is closed and ain't got nothing to do with a disaster, that particular gas station just don't have no gas today. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't get in your car because the grid is down to stay warm because you ain't got no gas in the car, right? You can't go get in your car and turn on the air conditioner because the grid is down because the power outages or something like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it has to become a mindset and a way of life.
Right. And one time when my son Lozy was looking for a college, right? And I remember he used to always talk about, somebody had mentioned when he was in 5th grade, Occidental College in California, right? And now he's graduating from high school, and there's a young lady there from Occidental College, right? So then he goes on all these trips for trying to figure out where he's going to go to school. And finally, I said, man, you used to talk about Occidental all the time. We need to go to Occidental. We need to go to California. I mean, you've been talking about the school. You need to at least go see it, right? So we fly out there. I call my friend. We fly out there. He said, hey, man, you can use my truck. You don't even have to rent a car. Just, get up to the house, right? Get an airport, go to the house. And he was in a gated community. And we got dropped off there. And so he said, here's the keys to the truck. He said, I want to show you something, right? So you open up the back of the truck, and there's a kit, right? I mean, a giant kit in the back. Like, he's like, in the case of an earthquake. I mean, this is my mind from New York. I'm like, what? Like, I'm thinking like an earthquake. Yeah, he started showing like there's rationings here. This is the first aid kit. This is what this is for. And I'm Lozy looking at me. I'm looking at him. I'm like, an earthquake, right? And just to go show you how unprepared, we just going to California, right? We're not thinking about earthquakes. But it was a reality check. Get in the car, start driving. And Lozy said, Dad, you think there's going to be an earthquake? So you talk about preparedness. I mean, the guy was prepared, right? He prepared. His house was prepared. We was at the house. He was talking about when they've had these little shakes and different things like that. How they prepare, what they have in stock, and all those different things. He was prepared for it because he lives there, right? I mean, so we're not even thinking about that. I mean, when we had an earthquake here in Mount Vernon a few years back.
How about a few months ago? How about that one?
Yeah. Or even the thing, man, we wasn't even prepared when they had the fires over in Canada and the smoke started coming over here.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, I guess that's another show.
That's a whole other podcast, brother.
Yeah. But I was showing them up there, that whole the Life magazine, the 9/11.
Yeah, I saw you flashing all that stuff, man. Send me them pictures, man.
Yeah, I'll send you the pictures.
The links to them or something like that.
Yeah. There you go, right there.
Yep, I made all 3 of those magazines, man. Those are not the magazines. That's Life books.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, Brother Barry knows what he's talking about, right? And also in the firearms safety, all those things.
Oh man, yeah, that's like the third podcast we're gonna do. Because a lot of things have changed, with gun laws, New York and then nationally. So yeah, we can do all of that. Get folks trained up and those who want to do that.
Yeah, and hey, look, I want to say thank you again.
Did a big event at the Harlem State Office building. Good brother of mine, good friend. This is actually his second or third firearms forum at the Harlem State Office building just in October, and he did it at the Schomburg a couple years ago as well. Schomburg Library a couple years ago. Yeah, we just cover all of the bases, brother. Because when we get back to when we take our rightful positions again in this world, we're gonna have to defend it. You see what I'm saying? And I always, when you hear about these folks talking about, what's funny, or not even funny. If you have a program for stop the violence, stop the gun violence, you get as much money as you want, right? From whatever source, right? Federal money, grant money, whatever it is. But if we want to do a firearms forum to educate folks on everything from the psychology of gun ownership, which is a real class, to carrying and possessing and owning and going hunting and all of the shooting sports. You got to jump through a whole lot of hoops, and a lot of times you can't even get the money because you got so much kickback from your own people in the community, right? And that's not a good thing,
right?
Because whatever you accomplish, that's one thing I would tell them, even when I do my disaster preparedness things. If you can't protect it, it ain't yours, and that includes your wife, your home, or whatever it is. Yeah, man. So the between the firearms and the farming, all of it is good, man. Because I just want to say this because it just popped into my head. Like we're quick to talk about Harriet Tubman, the Haitian Revolution, Nat Turner, right? All of them had guns, man. They all had guns. And if Emmett Till would have had a gun, his story would have been different today.
Wow. Yeah. All right. I think somebody just said hello to you.
Oh man, my phone I've been ignoring my phone over here,
Look,
brother. Everybody, I'll get back
is
with
that
them.
Clarissa?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said hello. And Barry, I want to thank you, man, for coming on and sharing with us tonight. I hope each and every one of you out there that's been listening to the podcast.
Yo, go back to that last one.
Go back to the last one?
Yeah.
The last. Keep going.
Oh, no, that one right there.
That one right there?
Yeah. Oh, man, that's Aton. And, oh, man, that was a good day. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man, that was in the Bronx. Okay, yeah.
And then you had a group of kids.
Yeah, those are three of my girls, my daughters. We was at, because they all are violinists. And
okay.
That was at Beethoven's 350th birthday celebration at Carnegie Hall a few years ago.
Right. And you said how many kids?
8 altogether, but six women in the middle.
6 women in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. They keep you busy.
Not really, because they grown, man. They everybody doing their thing.
Yeah. So Barry, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you. Just hold on for a second. I'm about to close this out.
Yes, sir.
I want to say thank you for again, as I say in the beginning and I say every week, man, thank you for your support of the Blueprint Podcast, man.
Hey, Lowe's.
Yes, sir.
Pardon me for interrupting, brother. But since today is Sunday, right?
Yes.
I got a prayer, man. When we get it, if I get another minute after you do your thing.
Okay, you got a prayer?
Yeah, man. Here it is. Boom. Do I go now or wait?
Yeah, go now.
All right. This is it right here. Dear brothers and sisters, it saddens me when we lose real men and women, warrior-spirited soldiers, and men and women of God. But it hurts me even worse when they are actually friends and we actually have walked with, worked with, laughed, played, and cried with these fearless men and women. We must spend more time together and stop being away from one another for long periods of time. This is my prayer.
Yeah, that's a prayer. Yeah, that's why, I've been to more reunions this year than I've ever been. Because it is about family, right? It is about friends. And it is. Check that video out. Go ahead, play that.
Brother Calvin, how you experiencing today's march today?
Beautiful.
Is it?
The march is just like the day. A beautiful day, a beautiful march.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's hurt in the air, but there's healing also.
Yes, sir.
For the spirit.
Okay.
So we're on our way.
Well, we're on our way. Praise God. Godspeed.
Praise God.
So, yeah, thanks, Brother Barry. And I want to say to each and every one of you out there, thanks again for your support of the Blueprint Podcast. Man, I love you guys. Man, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Right, I got Brewington Hardaway, the chess grandmaster. I mean, he's only 15 years old. He's already a chess grandmaster. And we also going to see his dad. We call him Bolo, but Dr. Leander Hardaway, right, is going to join his son. But and I want to thank Brother Barry because he made me aware. And I contacted Dr. Hardaway. And we just made it happen to get his son on the show next Saturday. And, man, it's going to be a great show just like tonight.
Did Bolo tell you our relationship?
What's your relationship?
Oh, he didn't tell you?
No, he didn't tell me.
It goes back to the early 60s, brother, when I started taking karate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we go back that far, man.
Bolo's a beast. But again, to each and every one of you, I want to say this. I say it every week, right? If God allow you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant time.